Okay, sings on. Okay, so I said कि I will record videos, so here we are. अभी I'm waiting for the print to finish. So figured कि I'll answer the question that someone had posed in the channel about whether you would recommend Manipal to someone. If you would, why would you recommend someone that they attend Manipal, and why would you not recommend that someone attend Manipal? So I thought I'll give some insight on that. First off, I'll start with the reasons why someone might not want to come to Manipal. First off, if you are someone that, how do I say this? Don't come to Manipal if you're poor. I'm not saying this to sound classist. I'm not saying this to sound, out of touch, या वो कोटी बंगला वाला this thing. But if you know that you are hella struggling, as in like खाना ही नहीं मिल रहा है घर पे भाई वैसा टाइप का चीज़. I mean, I'm exaggerating for comic effect, but you get my point. And you know कि you need to make every rupee count or something of that sort. I'm not sure if Manipal might give you that sort of paisa vasuli, in the sense that unless you are truly prepared to, you've truly optimized your roadmap, you know exactly क्या करना है हर साल, all that stuff. I'm not sure if this might work out for you. Again, take whatever I said with a pinch of salt and not discriminating. But I was fortunate enough to enjoy my time in Manipal without any financial fears. The same over here. I know there are people who have those fears, and yet they came to Manipal. So it is not it's not सिर्फ rich बच्चों के लिए है वाला जगह, वैसा नहीं है. You will have all sorts of people, but like I said, don't just take any damn college, be it Manipal, be it BITS, SRM, whatever. So that's the first and foremost thing. एक तो पैसा है. Second, if you are the more, I mean, I would say don't come if you are the more party kind. Some would say कि आओ क्योंकि पार्टी का कल्चर तो बहुत है. But I feel that due to the general consensus being more towards social gatherings or whatnot, if you are easily susceptible to those sorts of influences, like I believe we spoke about this in the call we had the other day, ki if you are very heavily affected by FOMO, and or you have a very severe inferiority complex and whatnot, इधर हाई फाई बच्चे बहुत है. आई वॉन्ट लाई, हाई फाई बच्चे बहुत है, एंड दैट मे कॉज सम डिस्कम्फर्ट डिपेंडिंग ऑन हाउ यू लुक एट इट. आई मीन, टू ईच देयर ओन, बट वो एक है. डोंट कम टू मणिपाल इफ यू हेट द वेदर. द वेदर इज गोइंग टू फकिंग किल यू. लेट मी पुट इट क्लियर, इट इज़ गोइंग टू किल यू. आई एम टेलिंग यू. ठीक, मैं तो पुणे से हूँ, सो आई वॉजंट नेसेसरली प्रिपेयर्ड फॉर द हीट. I managed somehow, and so for me it wasn't so big a deal. My friends who were also from Pune, they absolutely right. There were people from Delhi or like Rajasthan who I guess fared pretty well. I mean, makes sense because it's all so quite hot there. People from even further south who didn't quite like the incessant rain that Manipal receives from its geographic position, whatnot. That could be annoying for some. So maybe the weather. Depending on your department, which is again a very subjective experience. I enjoyed my time in the mechatronics department. I know people who enjoyed their time in the EEE department, despite the rumors of how bad EEE as a course and Manipal EEE as a department is. Again, subjective opinions, subjective perspectives. Always take a second, third, fourth opinion. But yes, if you are taking EEE, or if you are taking any, basically Manipal's admin tends to not be very student friendly, is I would say the least inflammatory, politically correct way to go about it. Because आई नो फ्रॉम पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस कि बहुत लोगों को स्ट्रेस हुआ है. they've had to deal with a bunch of stuff which can be difficult to deal with. I know, the Americans here, they love talking about mental health and whatnot, and I know कि India में the mental health scene is improving, which is great. It's great, but I wouldn't say that the boomers in the admin offices are those sorts of emotionally sensitive folk, if you know what I mean. That and uh, if you're a girl, unfortunately, uh, I mean, I don't want to. I mean, we have this all across India, but then again, just stay safe. I know that there have been, like, you go to clubs, go in groups, go all that. I mean, this is turning to an advice video, but anyway, so just there. I think there has been a somewhat larger trend towards saffronization with, like, the whole Hindutva type of stuff. I mean, I consider myself a non-practicing Hindu, but then even so, I'm not a fan of the whole Hindutva stuff. I find it a bit too extremist, but that's just me. So that could be an issue if you find that problematic. And but I'm by this I'm talking about Manipal the city, not Mahe the campus. You won't find this anywhere on Mahe the campus. This is about the general city, because obviously you would want to exit the campus, go roam around the city. So I just want to make these factors clear to you. Aside from that, I mean, there aren't any other glaring reasons why I would not recommend someone come to Manipal, aside from the usual, I guess, the stats, I guess. It's not a tier one, no matter what coke PM anyone huffs. I agree. It's not an AIT. It's not an NIT. It has its strengths, its weaknesses, but when it comes to objective tiers, obviously it's not a tier one. There it has a lot of areas it needs to work on. The 75% attendance criteria is quite a bitch to work around with, especially if for the mental health and adjacent reasons I mentioned earlier, you may not find it easy to maintain said 75% attendance. Yeah. Then could you maybe so like the curfew and the other stuff that's going on, the क्या वो metro gate वाला चीज that we were talking about the other day, that is also quite problematic. The VITification of Manipal is a current hot topic right now. I don't know how it's going to pan out. I mean, all I can do sitting from here is probably just spread awareness कि भाई ये सब हो रहा है at least, from whoever I know at Manipal, or like I could at least give my perspective as someone who lived on campus before all these messages even existed, like before the notion of these things even existed, like the whole 2018 COVID era, whatever. So mixed bag. I know there is an inherently morally good reason behind it, although the execution of said intention may be legally questionable, morally questionable, socially questionable. I don't know, but that's not a thing that you feel vibes with you, then you may want to think twice, or at least read further into it. So those are the reasons why someone might not want to come to Manipal. That are off the top of my head. बाकी का is the usual, I guess, stats नहीं है या branch नहीं मिला या मेरे type के लोग नहीं है. I would brush him off as rather subjective opinions, because like how do you know कि तेरे type के लोग नहीं, unless you don't come here, but then you'd have to come here and you find out. Anyway, not going to get into that. Now the reasons why you might want to come to Manipal. And now I will cite most of the same reasons that I said you should not come to Nepal, for starting with the weather. Though granted, the weather can be very maddeningly hot. Like the way I like to put it, you have so you have summer, which is, well, summer. You have summer director's cut, which is the peak summer vacation during the time of which we are fortunately not on campus. नहीं तो हम मर जाते थे. Although we do kind of experience it in the months of March and April over. You have summer monsoon DLC, which is fall semester. अभी जब तुम लोग आओगे, whoever is coming to Manipal, तुम लोग experience करोगे. मस्त तैर के आ जाओ क्लास को, because Manipal is its own union territory. It will set its own rules. No matter what, even if the roads are flooded and भारत बंद हो रहा है, it will not cancel classes. तो तैर के आ जाओ चुपचाप. Block 16 से ऊपर तैर के आ जाओ. That is the aesthetic, the monsoon aesthetic. But it has its moments. Sunsets and sunrises are beautiful, absolutely beautiful. The जो वादियाँ बोलते हैं ना लोग, एकदम फर्स्ट क्लास, वो तो मैं डेफिनेटली बोल सकता हूँ. आई मीन आई वोंट कंसिडर माई सेल्फ एन आउटडोर्सी पर्सन, बट आई डू अप्रिशिएट द ब्यूटी ऑफ नेचर, especially Manipal's nature. That too, I definitely agree. Now, what else? Why I would suggest someone come to Manipal? Manipal as a place is very uh, welcoming, open, cosmopolitan. So, because एक तो स्टूडेंट टाउन है, उडुपी एग्जिस्ट ऑब्वियसली, एंड मणिपाल द प्लेस एग्जिस्ट, बट देन Mahe the institution has been the center, the heart of this place. When it comes to the geography, the sociology, whatnot. So it stands to reason that because you have so many cultures, people from so many walks of life coming together in this proverbial melting pot of a place that is Manipal, which includes not just MIT but MCOPS, KMC, MCH, the other little other colleges that dot the Manipal, the whole area region. So people are quite open. At least my experience with the locals has been quite good. I mean, I lived in a time before. I mean, why I'm saying I studied in a time before the whole language imposition wala drama. So we didn't necessarily have to deal with uncomfortable situations like this. However, yes, it made sense to try and speak some Kannada or Kannada Tudu with the locals to gain favor with them. And there is another component of professors favoring you if you're a local, which I will not get into for obvious reasons. I mean, what क्या ही बोलूँ भाई, होता हो जाता है और क्या बोलूँ. um, but yeah, the locals are pretty open. Don't feel out of place. हर कम्युनिटी के लोग हैं इधर. You've got the rainbow gang, you've got south guys, the north guys, the middle eastern guys, as in your NRI वाले लोग जो इधर आते हैं for MIT, for MIT at least. For a couple foreign nationals, not here in MIT specifically, but I believe KMC admits foreign nationals as well, as in foreign nationals. I haven't seen any of them per se, but then again, I didn't really exit campus that much, so what do I know? The weather's good, the people are good, food, if you're a foodie, definitely plenty of places to eat at here. I mentioned the weather, but then there you have your beaches, you have places you can travel to if you're the nature hiking sort of person. Now coming to the college itself, academics, once again, like I mentioned, subjective experience, departments will differ based on year and who is the head of department at that point in time. But for what it's worth, I enjoyed my time in the mechatronics department for sure. At least at the time when I took it in 2018, mechatronics as a field wasn't quite in the public eye as it is now, what with the whole robotics and automation wali cheeze. But the department was relatively young, at least if you consider the average age of a professor in any average department to be what, 50, 45, 50. These folks were 30, which is pretty good, pretty young, as in literally just PhD khatam karke, maybe एक आध दूसरा postdoc करके they've come here, या MTech करके they've come here, which is good. Young blood, enthusiasm है, energy है, more importantly connection है somewhat with the younger kids that come in here for the freshman year, their first year. I remember this one faculty who did her MTech in Manipal and then also stayed back to teach. It's a pretty common trend. A lot of these people will have studied in Manipal before, either BTech or MTech or PhD program, or and then they will go out and वो सब करके ज़िंदगी जी के they might come back and settle here, maybe to just teach, because Manipal is a pretty good place, a pretty idyllic, laid back place to spend your days in. That I will agree. I would always, I mean, if I had the opportunity to live in Manipal, specifically like the whole campus area, I wouldn't mind it. I really like the place, like the people, I like the stuff that's going on, the whole academic stuff, like I mentioned. Faculty also अच्छे हैं, labs are pretty good, facilities are good, excellent, great. I was there in MRM. I was very involved with department activities and research and whatnot. As any current mechatronics student will tell you, I am still involved with a lot of stuff that's going on campus. तो सपोर्ट बहुत है. क्लब्स डिबेटेबल, स्टूडेंट प्रोजेक्ट्स डेफिनेटली वेरी एक्टिव, वेरी proficient and prolific in their respective fields, and मज़ा आ रहा है, मज़ा कर रहे हैं वो लोग, एज इन चल रहा है, अच्छे से चल रहा है. Aside from that, there's nothing else that comes up to the top of my head, but these were, if I were to spontaneously strike up a conversation with someone and the topic of Manipal were to come up, these are the types of points that I would refer or like raise when talking to said person. So this is going to take a while, but video ka end to ye hai. So if you have any questions, let me know and I will be happy to answer.